way back up the Huia, where the mighty Cowrie stand, that I met a female bullocky, as good as any man. She was sitting on a nearby stump, yarning with Yankee Bill, while her catamaran was loaded with a log for Gibbon's mill. The boots she wore were hobnailed, about size 6 or more, but the thing that knocked me cross-eyed were the trousers that she wore. Now I was young, about 14, and I thought trousers were for men, but on that stump sat Charlotte Ann, quite unashamed in them. Her team of 10 roan bullocks were Charlotte's pride and joy. It is said she preferred them to any local boy. She fondled and caressed them, spoke to them in honeyed tones, but her language used to workman would chill the marrow in your bones. You men may smirk, and ladies, be horrified you should, but I admire Miss Charlotte for earning money where she could. 'Twas always hard to get a job, to earn a living pretty tough, especially for the women folk. Those days were really rough. Old Toby, he's 20. He's very old for a dog. And I'm just 69. We don't get about as we did in the past. Old Toby sleeps most of the time. As I sit here beside him, looking out o'er the bay, I dream of the times I've had with men I have known in the bush and the hills. Tough fellas, but few of them bad. Today people see naught but bush on these hills and sand on the beaches they roam. But in the last century, to dozens of folk, the Waitakere Ranges was home. Many men were required when a mill started up, as they did in the ranges of yore. There were bushmen, mill hands, storekeeper and cook, blacksmiths, bullock drivers and more. The small shanty towns were home to these men, and their wives and their children as well. A community hall and a schoolhouse perhaps were built when the numbers did swell. As the years passed away and the bush was cut out, the mill would have to close down. So the men drifted off to another bush mill, or perhaps to a job in some town. To leave open spaces is not nature's way. She reclothes all clear land once again, first with tea tree and scrub, and when this has grown tall, new bush grows o'er the terrain. The mill houses rot and collapse in due time. The trees push their way through the floor, leaving only the hardy old English flowers or a rambler that grew round the door. There are no shanty towns in the ranges today, nor timber mills as years before. No roar of the water from trip-driving dams or the screech of a circular saw. No ring of an axe biting into the trunk of a tall, stately kauri tree, or the crack of the whip and the language profane from the mouth of the old bullocky. You no longer see puffing round the sea cliffs and on trestles or the dune sand the tiny bush loco with its truckload of timber. A hush has settled down on the land. And so I look out on the sea and the bush, and I dream of the times I like best, of the virgin forest in which I once worked, and my mates who have now all gone west. From the timber mill at Kiri to the wharf at Paratu, I rode the Parara Express way back in '82. Beardy Jan, the Dutchman, was the driver on this trip. He said he'd take no passengers, but I bribed him with a tip. I heaved my pickow on the tucker box and clambered in on top, and with just the faintest whistle, the Parara Express was off. Underneath the coastal cliffs, through a tunnel rather low, then over miles of iron sand dunes was the way we had to go. At a tunnel through a headland, we made the scheduled stop, while Jan lowered down the smokestack so it wouldn't get knocked off. Getting near to Parara, old Jan now throttled down, for the stream is crossed on trestles full 12 feet above the ground. We clattered past the siding that once ran to Bill Foot's mill, now just a blackened ruin, mid charred trees neath the hill. Chugging slowly round the headland to the iron sand dunes once more, the track is built on trestles, 6 chains back from the shore. Jan always ran the loco full speed along this line, but from Windy Point to Whatipu was where he lost some time. The waves that break against the track can lift and twist this length, although it is built on trestles triple braced to give them strength. Moving slowly neath the cliffs, past caves both deep and dank, Jan stopped beside a waterfall to fill the water tank. 3 times he blew the whistle, the blast echoing round the bay to let the wharfman know the express was on its way. So, on this fine day in August of 1882, the Parara Express pulled in at the wharf at Paratu. Here the bark, Wild Duck, was waiting to sail out with the tide. So I took a passage on her, bound for the goldfields, down near Clyde. It was springtime, back in '89, and things were pretty tough. We'd been offered 2 bob each a sheep, which we thought was just not enough. So we rounded up some 50 ewes and headed off to town, where at Newmarket sale yards we hoped to get a crown. We made good time to Judson's and down to Kelly's Bridge, and on the second night we rested up on the Hillsborough Ridge. Next morning being sale day, our breakfast had to wait, for we hoped to reach the sale yards with the sheep all penned by 8. The sale was disappointing, only 3 bob each the lot. But this was something better than the other farmers got. So we saddled up our horses and headed out of town. But on the way, just past 3 Kings, the rain came tumbling down. We rode right on to Oratia and then up to Neotap, where wet and cold and tired, we sought shelter in a shack. The old bushman made us welcome, as we well knew that he would, and the hot black tea he brewed for us soon had us feeling good. We slept upon the floor that night with his dogs down at our feet, and a roaring fire and several sacks to help keep in the heat. He said, "That's all I've got to keep the cold at bay, but should you find it gets too bad, I have just this to say. Pull up another dog, me lads, especially near the dawn. Pull up another dog, me lads, it helps to keep you warm." We didn't need the dogs that night to help to keep us warm. The little people in the hut kept us scratching right till dawn. With the singing of the bellbirds, we were up and on our way, and kept the horses trotting all the way to Kirry Bay. When our mother saw us scratching, she guessed where we had been, and she made us strip our clothes off and have a scrub down in the stream. Our old friend died a year ago, but I still can hear him say, "Pull up another dog, me lads, to keep the cold away. Pull up another dog, me lads, especially near the dawn. Pull up another dog, me lads, they helps to keep you warm."